This is not a test. This is rock and roll. Time to rock it from the Delta to the DMZ. Is that me or does that sound like an Elvis Presley movie? Viva Da Nang. Oh, viva Da Nang. Da Nang me. Why don't they get a rope and hang me? Hey, is it a little too early for being that loud? Hey, too late. It's 0600. What's the O stand for? Oh, my God, it's early. Speaking of early, how about that Cro-Magnon, Marty Drywitz? Thank you, Marty, for silky smooth sound. Make me sound like Peggy Lee.
He doesn't look a thing like Robin Williams, but this is the real Adrian Cronauer.
No, I know Robin Williams. Robin Williams is a friend of mine, and I'm much better looking than Robin Williams. I wanted Paul Newman or Robert Redford or somebody like that to play it, but they insisted on Robin.
So when he works his way to our age,
yeah,
they're still going to be better looking, huh?
Absolutely. You bet.
Well, through the movie, folks have learned a lot about your story, or at least they think they have.
Mm-hmm.
And the standard question is, how much of what we saw in the movie is really you?
Tim, you were in the military. You know, if I did half the stuff he did in that movie, they would have court-martialed me, and I'd still be in Leavenworth.
Yeah.
We'd be doing this interview in jail instead of in front of the wall. Go through a quick litany. Yes, I was a disc jockey in Vietnam. Yes, I did teach English during my off-duty time. No, I was not teaching because I was trying to meet this particularly beautiful Vietnamese girl. At least not one particular beautiful Vietnamese girl. Yeah. No, really. The reason I was is to try and meet some more of the Vietnamese people, because they have a respect for teachers, as most societies do, and it was a way to get through the reticence that they had toward meeting the Americans. I did try and make it sound more like a stateside radio station. I did have trouble with news censorship. I did not have some sergeant major try and get me killed, and I did not get hit with a landmine when I was riding in a Jeep. I did not get lost in the jungle trying to avoid the Viet Cong. I was not thrown out of Vietnam. I stayed for my full one-year tour and was honorably discharged, thank you. We did have a lot of problems with censorship, and I was constantly fighting that. In the film, it shows that I'm being constantly thwarted in everything I'm trying to do. That's not quite right. It was more like apathy. The attitude was, well, yeah, it sounded fine, but it sounded fine the way it was before, and I don't know why you're going to all this extra trouble and effort and everything. I mean, if it ain't broke, why are you trying to fix it? But I would go out into the field. The troops liked what I was doing, and so that just encouraged me to do more. And it wasn't so much me. I was trying to expand the amount of top 40 music. And sometimes they'd recognize my name, sometimes they wouldn't. I'd say, you know, good morning. Oh, yeah, well, how about playing a record for me? And the good morning shout did catch on.
Yeah.
And it was not unknown when I was on a particularly bad day when I would yell, "Good morning, Vietnam." Some of the troops would turn to their radios and yell the GI equivalent of, "Get stuffed, Cronauer."
The GI equivalent?
Yes. And on one occasion I know of, a guy picked up his M1 and blew away his radio. But the shout caught on, and the next fellow who did the morning show kept that in the same format. And that sign-on in the format remained as a tradition, I understand, until we finally left Vietnam.
It was handed down, and it was still going on when I was there, and I was among some of the last that were there, except they had just resorted to throwing fruit and vegetables at the radios where I was at when we would hear it. But it did catch on and it handed down, and the things that you did changed the sound of radio over there. As that movie opens up, the newsreader, the fellow's doing on there, that was the military way.
Oh, yes.
He had great coaching to be able to read that way.
Yeah, while they're doing the opening crawl, there was an announcement about how to get your hold baggage at Tan Son Nhut Air Base.
Yes.
Cover contents such as shoes, socks, and undergarments. And now an item of special note. Barring any change in the weather, the softball game between the 133rd and 4th Infantry Divisions will resume as scheduled at the Ban Mi Tu Park, corner of Viet Ho and Nguyen Van Thieu Streets here in Saigon. Please make a note of it. Excuse me. Those men who lost equipment in last week's rains are asked to contact Lieutenant Sam Shear. Lieutenant Shear asks those men with waterlogged mitts to make every effort to dry them out in the sun before requesting new ones. Bookworms. Headquarters Support Activities Saigon operates libraries at 6 locations in the Republic of Vietnam. American personnel can check out a book in Cu Bai, Da Nang, Phuong Thao, Saigon, Bien Hoa, and San Trang. If you can't stop in and select your own books, write to the HSAS library. Ask for the books by author, title, and subject, and your selections will be mailed to you.
Yes.
And that is about as accurate a depiction of what it sounded like when I got there as is humanly possible.
Yep.
And
it very much was.
And I tried to change that because we were supposed to be a morale factor to counteract homesickness. So I figured the best way to do it was to make it sound as much like a stateside station as possible. So that's what I do. And I never realized how much Armed Forces Radio really meant to people until after the movie came out, and I started going to various veterans reunions and meetings, and on a number of occasions a man will come up to me and shake my hand and very quietly say, "Thank you for helping me get through Nam." That hits.
As we rode the golf cart through the area earlier, as we would pass a group of people, they would shout out "Good morning, Vietnam" to you. I mean, you're recognizable. You've become more recognizable since the movie than probably that time in between.
Yeah.
What did you do in the time in between?
Well, when I got out of the Air Force, I went to Ohio, where I was a news anchorman for a couple of years. Then I went to Southwest Virginia, and I spent a couple of years, I spent about 5 years as program director and operations manager for a television station, and then continued on building my career, hopefully each stage a little bit more responsibility and money. I was a programming consultant. I managed a radio station for several years. I opened my own advertising agency, and after about 3 years sold that out to a larger local agency and moved to New York. Spent 7 years in New York City working freelance doing commercials, and also got a master's in media studies. And then I decided it was time to get into an honest profession. So I went
I know where you're headed.
It is if you do it right.
Yeah.
I looked at all of the communications technologies that are coming along, satellites and fiber optics and direct distribution systems and interactive cable and high-definition television and on and on. The more I read about it, the more it seemed obvious that the people involved don't know what they're doing. They're writing the book as they go along. Yeah. That takes lawyers, and I thought it'd be fun to get in there and write a page or a paragraph or even just a sentence of the book myself. So I went to law school, and now I'm a communications lawyer in Washington, so when you're ready to buy your next television station, I'll be glad to do your license for you.
Did you get a doctorate somewhere along the way, too?
Well, that's the law degree.
Yeah.
Doctor of Law. Yeah.
Honest profession. The movie has been good to you, though, hasn't it?
Yes. Good Morning Vietnam has been very, very good to me. It paid for the first year of law school, and it opened up the college lecture circuit. And I took a semester off from law school, and that paid for the rest of law school. Plus, the notoriety has opened doors for me and has helped me in getting clients for my legal practice. So it's worked out very nicely. I have no complaints about Good Morning Vietnam at all.
Even when you're sitting down to discuss purchasing a radio station with somebody, do you have to go through it all? Sometimes, yeah. The basic questions: how much of it was real, and that sort of thing. Obviously, you're not getting tired of it, though. No, sometimes it gets to the point of, oh, that was question J. Okay, push the button, get response J. Yeah. But, no, I don't mind. Well, as we close out this piece, can I push button J? Okay, you wanted to hear the sign-on, the way it really was. And there is a distinction between the way Robin did it in the movie and the way it really was. Because the way Robin did it in the movie, it was just a rising crescendo of "Good Morning Vietnam," and that's not the way it was done at all. Should I hold this back just a little ways? Oh, no. Okay. Well, maybe, but what happened was, there was a very practical reason for it. You would hold the good. Mm-hmm. As long as you could. Yes, because if you're a morning man, eventually, and in my case sooner than later, you will oversleep. And so you come half asleep, staggering into the station, half dressed, you haven't any records pulled, you don't know where your headphones are, and as you walk through the door, you hear the newsman saying, "That's the latest from the Armed Forces Radio newsroom, next news in 1 hour." You got to do something. So while you're searching for your headphones and pulling records, you turn on the microphone and you go, Vietnam. That's the way we really did it. I'm out of breath.